Yeah, just to say. Okay.
Okay, sure. Okay, hello everyone here, everyone online. Let's see how many people do you have. You know? Okay, cool. So, welcome to the info session about engineer for exploration. So, what is this program about? It's not a student org, technically. It's undergraduate research. Okay, well, and we also involve graduate students, MS students mostly. So it's really a research program. You get to work on actual research, and the type of research that we do is building technologies to help other scientists. So we work with a lot of people, like in archaeology, and in ecology and biology, explorers, and basically all these people, right? When they try to do their job, they need technologies. Now, these people don't represent like a huge market, right? So nobody's building stuff specifically for archaeologists, right? I mean, you're not going to make a lot of money doing that. There's so few people that do archaeology, and they have such limited budgets. So when they go out in the field, they often see these things where they're like, huh, I know my phone can do this, all this cool stuff, right? I know, like, I can take these panoramas, and I've heard about machine learning, and I see about all these drones that people use, right? Why can't I do this for my research? This would be really super useful. This would be really super cool. But they don't have the know-how to build these things, right? These things don't exist kind of out of the box, ready for them. And yeah, sometimes the military has these things, but they don't have access to that, right? So they typically have a need, and they come to us and they say, like, can you do this? This is kind of the problem that I have. Can you help me? Can you build some tech for me, right? And that's what this program is about. So building this tech, and that involves all kinds of things. It involves mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, putting things together, system integration, embedded software, machine learning, all those different kind of things. And we have a bunch of different projects, and they are all kind of coming from the scientists and their needs, right? And so we have about kind of a lot of them right now that we have are on environmental monitoring, or monitoring different animals and studying those. Basically, a lot of ecology applications. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to have the students who are leading these projects give a little bit of an introduction about these projects, what they're about, and how you can get involved, right? So you're probably wondering, like, hey, is this for me, right? What's kind of expected, right? Do I have to know all these things, right? When they'll be talking about what's required or what they work on, you may be intimidated, and that's normal. If you wait until you know everything before you get involved with stuff, let it be like E4E or any student org, right? If you wait until you know everything, you're never going to do anything. There's always going to be more to learn. You're always going to feel unprepared, right? The idea is the things that you know, can you apply them? And so there is definitely a learning curve involved, getting involved in these things. But we've had people in the freshman year getting involved, right? And that's totally possible. The main thing is you need to have at least some basis that you can build on. Then you have to have the drive to actually study and work by yourself, right? To kind of get to that learning curve so you can start contributing. And the main reason why we typically see students kind of not succeed in this program or kind of giving up is if you cannot spend enough time, if you don't have the time or the self-motivation to kind of get through that learning process, right? Because in the beginning, it's going to be boring, right? You're going to be learning a bunch of stuff, and you don't see like how this applies to this really cool application that you'll be hearing about. But once you get through that ramp up, through that process, it becomes really cool, but you have to be willing to push through that, right? And the more time you can put into it, and the more you're kind of self-driven, the more you're going to get out of this program. There's a lot of opportunities here. So what's really cool is that we work directly with those scientists. So it's not just that they give us some ideas, right, that we build something, right? We actually go and talk to them. They use our technologies in their work. They go out into the field to do these field expeditions, and we support them in that, right? So if you grow into a leadership position in this group, you're going to go out into the field, work with these scientists, deploy these technologies, right? We send people abroad. We send to Guatemala, to Mexico, to Jamaica, and so this is all available to you, but you have to put in the time and effort and dedication, right? It's also fine if you say like, yeah, I just want to work on this for like a few quarters, right? And that's fine too. But I just want to kind of show you where the ceiling is, right? The ceiling is, well, basically you get Nathan's job because he started with us as an undergraduate, right? In E4E, he basically he started working on a project, became a team lead, did his master's on one of these projects, right? And now is basically hired back as an engineer to support these things, and he gets to go to all these cool places. But so yeah, it is definitely possible to kind of do this for several years, eventually get a master's in this, right? We have summer opportunities, but again, those are for the students who can put in the time and basically want to be in a leadership position. We have a full-time paid summer program. And so a lot of the students who will be talking to you actually have gone through that program. Right, so hopefully you can see that this is really cool, and if you're really interested in kind of like applying what you learn to something meaningful, right, where you can make a difference in the world, this is one of those opportunities. Right, so any questions for me before I let the students introduce the different projects? No, if there are no questions, if there's questions later, feel free to ask me. So the idea is they're going to kind of speed through all the different projects, kind of give you a quick overview, and then you have the opportunity to kind of break out into groups and talk to them individually, right, and ask more questions, and maybe see like if this project is for you and how you can get involved right away if you want to. Okay, so that's the idea. So let's get started. Unless Nathan, you want to say something?
No, I'm just a personal project.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So yeah, thanks all for coming. I'm Nathan. I'm the staff engineer for E4E. And I'm just going to be talking about this first project, which is the II sleep monitoring project. So let's just talk real quick. You know, what are II? II are an endangered species of lemur from Madagascar, of which we actually have a few of them in the San Diego Zoo down at Balboa Park. You know, kind of the key thing, fun thing about these are, you know, probably yay big, nocturnal. So, you know, they don't, you know, they're not very active during the day, which is really fun for an animal that's on display, because now you've got humans interacting with animals that's trying to sleep during the day, and then it wakes up at night, right? Other fun thing about these things, they got really big claws for digging through wood. So, you know, you can imagine what that would do to electronics if you ever try to do that. So, you know, why are we interested in these guys? Well, yeah, as I said, they're nocturnal, and so the one question that the scientists and the keepers up at the zoo have is, you know, how are they affected by humans, you know, knocking on their exhibit all day long? You know, imagine if you had, you know, you're sleeping and then someone's just knocking at your door the whole night. You would not be in a happy mood the next day, right? I presume you all have, most people all-nighters before, right? Maybe. It's not, if you haven't, it's not fun. I do not recommend it. But yeah, I just imagine, you know, these guys are probably pulling all-nighters, you know, most of the day because they're getting in trouble by humans. So what we propose to the zoo, and what the zoo kind of wants us working with the zoo, is deploy a series of cameras to look at the eye and see, you know, how well it is sleeping. So you can look at, you know, kind of how they're moving, or you know, during the day, how their behavior is. Is it more active? Is it more lethargic? And so that kind of information can provide a lot of information to the keepers in terms of they're sleeping well or they're not sleeping well. You know, we should probably restrict visitor hours from this time to this time, or maybe we shouldn't. right? And those kind of information. So, kind of what we're trying to do, we've already built a system in the lab that works in laboratory conditions. Or at least we think it works. So what we need to do at this point is build another system and send it to the Safari Park, which is where the conservation technology lab is. And this is where they have some engineers there that will, put it to test and see, does it actually capture the data that they want? And, they can put it in a little bit more realistic environment and actually see, is there actually interesting data that they can use with that to help them inform, more information about the II. And so that's kind of what we're going to be supporting them, really focusing this quarter on building and verifying that system with the San Diego Zoo engineers, and really trying to get them, set up to, eventually take this down to Balboa Park, install it in the II enclosure, and see data coming back. And we'll basically have video 24/7 of the II sleeping or walking around or doing whatever. Right. And so this is a really cool opportunity to get involved in both hardware, literally building boxes and enclosures and mounts, working with electronics where we're rebuilding, we're putting together Raspberry Pis, doing a couple custom PCBs, LED lighting, to software where you're actually, we're double checking, is all the software on the Pi working to capture the data, package it correctly, send it to the server. Is all the server software working correctly to, get that data from the Pi, store it securely on a server, name it correctly, and not lose any second of data from the moment we plug the thing in Safari Park to whenever we decide to pull that plug. Right. So there's a lot of opportunities to do a whole lot of really cool work here. And so if any of y'all are interested, I'll be around after talk a little bit more and see and talk more about this project. Any questions so far? All right. Well, we'll go ahead and go to the next project then. Yeah.
So the cameras use computer vision?
Yes and no. So we are not focused on the project right now is pivoting away from doing the data processing. We're going to do some basic things like run mega detector on it. Mega detector is a neural network that is designed specifically for recognizing animals in trail cameras. So we're going to run that against just see, is that a viable, easy step to say, yes, there's an eye in this image. Eventually, yes, there's going to be a lot more of a computer vision component to this, but we're probably looking at maybe half a year to a year down the road before that becomes a major component of this project.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Melina, and I'm the project lead for the radio telemetry tracking project. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're going to do this quarter. So our project is basically looking to find a solution for scientists when they're doing their radio telemetry tracking. Tracking animals for conservation and monitoring is a big part of what a lot of ecologists do. Just knowing how many animals a habitat has and seeing like trends and differences and stuff like that. And on-foot methods require a lot of time and physical effort. So in the image here is an example, that big antenna that the scientist is holding, they basically like take those and they have to walk around until they like see where the animal is, they receive a signal and follow it around. So we're looking at simplifying that. Our main sort of a brief overview. We've got two systems. We've got a drone system and a tower system to simplify this process. So our two subprojects, the Arkansas subproject uses the towers. In this project, we've got a predefined area of space. So we only want to track animals within a certain area, and we want very frequent and very accurate results. And so we're setting up towers around the perimeter and like triangulating the position of every lizard based on synchronous signals from different towers around the perimeter. Versus our other sub-project, which is using the drone, is a little more, there's like a big open area. We don't know exactly like where we're looking for the lizards. They could be, or in this case, boas, anywhere in a pretty big area. And we don't really care so much about getting results as frequently or, yeah. So we're using a drone, and the drone flies above the area and sees where the lizard is, and then it can be piloted to go to the specific area and get more accurate results. So just to give you an idea of what we're working on. And then our goals for this quarter, we're very close to actually seeing both these projects in the field, which is extremely exciting. So for the tower base, the Arkansas, we've got one piece of hardware that we designed over the summer, the sleep timer, which basically turns these towers on and off, that we need to integrate into our tower logic this quarter. And then testing and validating that the whole system works, so that our hardware is doing what it needs to do, that all our electronics are working as best as they can, and that the software logic is doing what it needs to do also. And then our goal is to deploy, to actually go out to Arkansas and build our towers and measure data at some point this quarter. And then for the other deployment, for the boas and the drone, we're sort of in the same spot. We've got everything sort of ready, and it's just testing to see what needs to be done, and then heading out there and gathering data and testing more in the field. So I think that is everything for me. Yeah, does anyone have any questions? All right, cool. I'll pass it over to Chris.
Hello, so my name's Chris. I'm actually going to talk to you about two projects today. So the first one I'm going to talk to you is the Baboons on the Move project. And in the Baboons on the Move project, we, as you can expect, might cool. We track baboons using drones. So in this case, these baboons live in the Laikipia Plateau of Kenya, and we use drones not unlike this one here with a just newer version of this with a 4K camera, flying well above their sleeping sites to track them. And kind of the motivation behind this is scientists are looking for to understand how these animals might make group level decisions. So now, if you have some animals buy off in this direction, some other animals off in this direction, eventually this whole troop of animals will decide to go off in one direction. And scientists don't yet know how they make that decision. So this is kind of efforts to help them understand that group level decision. So let's cool. So I'm going to just play this real quick and I'm going to stop it. Cool. So that didn't. Yeah, no, I want the previous slide. I want the slide. I'm just trying to get it to play and pause. Cool. So kind of difficulty you might expect from using a drone over animals that are only about 1 meter, particularly out of a scene like this where the drone's about 80 meters high, is that these animals are about 30 pixels in this image. Who could see the baboons in this image? So they're kind of hard. These here, these are baboons. There's a couple over here and a couple like in this area. Thing is, if I were to go play this, maybe, nope, wrong side. If I were to play this, and we start to like hone in on that motion, this becomes a whole lot easier to solve. So from this, we can make a pretty good assumption that any solution we come up with this might require something like something that uses both temporal locality and spatial locality together to kind of solve this problem. So, and without going too much into the details, we have a solution that that generally works okay-ish. and produces this. But as you see, a lot of these baboons, as they stop moving, we lose them, we don't track them very well. There is definitely work for you guys to be able to help improve this. So that said, next slide, please. What am I looking for in someone? So these are not necessarily required skill sets, more just kind of some recommended skill sets. I'm looking for people who can do computer vision, looking for people who can help us with some general development, and I'm looking for people who can help us with UI. There's this is very close to deployment. There is options. There may be options in the future for maybe a deployment in Texas or other areas, or at least data processing. So there's also other opportunities if you are a master's student and looking for a potential thesis idea. There's definitely stuff that could come out of this. Like I said, mostly looking for people to help with UI and further algorithm development. My contact info, this will appear again at the side. I'm going to be over here in the corner. You guys can talk to me there as well. Any questions before I go on to my next project? Cool. So I'm also the lead of FishSense. So FishSense here is an underwater camera that aims to be able to detect fish and calculate the length of fish. Right now, divers use laser calipers, or maybe just even holding a ruler up to them to try to be able to measure the fish. And as you can expect, accuracy is difficult. Other solutions are basically catch and release programs. The unfortunate thing about catch and release programs is you have high number of casualties of the fish by doing that. So this aims to be a non-invasive way of being able to track that line, and also sees other potential deployment places like fisheries and whatnot to be able to keep track of fish health and things like food consumption. So this is just a brief tear down of this FishSense unit. While I kind of go through, I'm going to talk a bit through it. So the FishSense, this provides our underwater tube. The FishSense is made of a RealSense camera and then a number of store-bought PCBs and custom-built PCBs. So, and as well as a currently a Jetson TX2 at its heart, allowing us to do it at some point in the future, computer vision directly on chip. And so that RealSense there is much like the old Xbox Connect was. It is a depth camera. So actually, I'll skip this slide. It's just fish. But you might be able to get a depth image like this. So this depth image, the way that you read this is blue here represents kind of the closest, and red up there kind of represents the furthest away. And every color in between represents kind of how close an object is, an object that it sees to the camera. So we can see that this blue fish here, this is relatively close, and with some shrink, if we knew this point and this point, we did measure this. Again, I have a list of skills. I'm looking for computer vision people, electrical engineer. We have electrical engineering work to do on this, and there may be a redesign coming in the future. Have some firmware stuff I want to do. So if you know ROS, for example, there's some ROS opportunities, some Linux and Ubuntu opportunities, and potentially some mechanical engineering, as well as systems and engineering. This is not a full list. For a full list, you can go to the open positions page on efree.ucsd.edu. And once again, my contact info. So I'm going to hand over now. Well, actually, any questions? Cool. Then I will go ahead and hand over to Acoustic Species.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I am Sean Perry. I am the project lead of the Automated Acoustic Species ID. This is my research contributor, Sam. And yeah.
Yeah, so high level overview of our project. What can birds tell us about climate change? It's bad. So changes in biodiversity can help indicate changes in environmental health and climate change. So a majority of biodiversity is not in larger mammals. It's actually in smaller, generally noisier animals. So traditional measurements like catch and release and camera traps don't do as well. So our solution is to look at the soundscape of the environment using passive acoustic monitoring. So we set up large scale microphone arrays in different parts. And we can use that to measure large scale population statistics. The problem with this versus images is that it's harder to label data. With images, you can say, oh, that's where that animal is. With audio, it's a little bit harder to say, oh, that's where a bird call is. That's an insect. So in accordance with that, there's not a lot of training data currently available. So our research is trying to make it easier to get ground truth data for animal calls, make it easier to get that training data, and then develop audio format detection methods.
Our current fall 2022 goals mostly work off of some of our summer goals. Right now, what we've developed is a system that takes a lot of most publicly available data is what we refer to as weakly labeled. So in a 1 minute clip, you have maybe the name of the bird listed in that 1 minute clip. That's not very useful, especially if there's multiple birds or multiple bird calls in one clip, right? If a bird calls once in an entire like 1 minute clip, not as useful as saying, it's not as useful if we just don't know how many bird calls there are, right? But what we've done over the summer is developed what we call a weakly to strongly labeled model, which uses a binary bird, no bird, in order for us to generate a rough count of some, generate rough strongly labeled data, that is the specific time series of the start and end of bird calls in our audio data, so that we can use it as training data for a different model that can do that much more formally. So this summer, this fall, what we want to work on is trying to refine this pipeline and then be able to improve our training of models on this weakly to strongly labeled data. This is mostly where our ML side, so Python, NumPy, SciPy, and then being able to work with convolutional neural networks. That's the main focus for fall 2022. Did I miss anything? No, I say that's pretty good. On the other side, we also have, if you're not so much interested in data science or machine learning, we do have a more software engineering side of the project. So we have two different avenues that we're working on. We have Pyronote, which is a human labeling website. Basically, it's a website I spent 2 years working on to help people label some of our data so we can get a ground truth to compare against all the ML side that I showed off on the previous slide. So this is a really good entry point into the project. If you don't feel super confident in like higher level ML stuff, you can start working on some web dev stuff and slowly move into the project. That's how I got into this project. I started with as web dev and moved up here. The other side is PIHA. So basically all the models and stuff that we're working on, we're working to encapsulate that into a Python package so our collaborators at the San Diego Zoo can be able to use these models, use these tools, all in a comprehensive package without them having to like mash together a bunch of different programs we've made. Over the summer, we developed a few different methods. So we want to put that all together into the Python package. So this is improving our visualizations, include some of our data processing code, and then maybe start working on integrating retraining into our Python package so people can retrain models in the future if they need to. Yeah, and fun fact, the PIHA is named after the screaming PIHA, which is the second loudest bird on the planet and something we just revolved as a mascot for the project. Yeah.
Here's our contact information. You can come see us, and we have links to all of our information.
Yeah. Any questions? I know we went over that a little fast.
We'll pass it off to Mangrove Monitoring. I think.
Okay, hey everyone, I'm Dylan. You guys can hear me, right? I think it should be good. Okay, cool. So yeah, my project is a mangrove monitoring project, and just moving on to the next slide. So essentially you might be asking, what are mangroves? When I first explained this project to my mom, she thought I was doing a project on mangoes. Definitely not it. That's not as exciting, but Mangroves are, of course, a type of tree species that live on, these intertidal zones of many countries across the world. So countries like, Malaysia or Jamaica, Mexico, even the United States, mangroves are all over the place. But they also have a lot of uses. Next slide. So of course, they're really good at carbon sequestration. So we all know global warming's bad, causes a lot of effects to our climate. And mangroves are really good at fighting the effects of global warming. So of course, getting rid of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, they suck it out and store it in their roots, almost twice as much compared to tropical rainforests in the Amazon. So they're really efficient for the area that they're in. Protection from tropical storms. So I think we've all been seeing what's going on in Florida right now with storm surges. Mangroves in those areas actually help greatly with storm surges in that area, acting essentially as a sponge. So, we don't see as large storm surges. And also they're really good for economies of the areas that they're in as well, offering as nursing habitats for fishes, and also essentially providing, a massive economic boon to the areas that they're in. So next slide. So in terms of what we do for scientists who study mangroves, of course, one main thing that we do is actual data acquisition of these mangroves. So we use drones and other sources to take high resolution images of these mangrove ecosystems. We actually came back from a trip 6 months ago, I think it was in April, and we went to Jamaica, flew some drones and recorded a bunch of imagery to help them rehabilitate mangroves. In addition, we also develop machine learning models to actually figure out where these mangrove ecosystems are. So imagine if you were looking at all these images, trying to decide what tree is mangrove, what isn't. It's not, you can't be very good at it, and it takes a really long time. So machine learning algorithms make that a lot easier. And also we make tools for scientists to make it easier for them to conserve mangroves and do this type of technological things that we're doing without having to get, a master's degree and, spend 7 years in school like I have. So next slide. So yeah, just going into a little bit of detail for what we do. In terms of classification, we use a lot of convolutional neural network models. So if you want to join on this side of the project, of course, it's nice to have, but it's not required. But of course, knowledge in deep learning libraries and data science libraries will be really nice to kind of get you up to speed and learn our workflows. And of course, Python programming, as a lot of you have noticed in engineering and especially data science, Python is pretty prevalent. So we use that a lot. And next slide. And then also for one of the tools that we have, one of the skills that we want are mainly Java and exposure machine learning. ML Paint is an automatic labeling tool that we use to easily label mangroves, and we plan on doing an overhaul of that program soon. So really any web development or application development is awesome, and exposure to ML is really nice because the back end of it is, of course, machine learning. Next slide. So yeah, of course, if you want to contact me, just feel free to shoot me an email, or if you guys get on the E3 Slack, just feel free to message me on there. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
So next is Smartfin.
All right, this is Smartfin. I'm just gonna go over what the purpose of Smartfin is first. So when you go surfing, I don't know how many of you surf, but you have a surfboard, and underneath there are usually fins, multiple usually. And these fins are there so that when you turn on the fin, you can like sort of dig into the water and you have something to turn against. So that's sort of like the surfing purpose of why surfboards have fins underneath it. They look something like this. This is a longboard fin, so it would go right underneath a longboard or a surfboard. And the purpose and why we're interested in this is what we can do is that you can just take out these fins, because all surfboards, they come with a replacement or like replaceable fins. And instead of the fins just being a piece of plastic that does nothing, or I guess it does something, but we make it do some cool stuff. So here's what the fin does. It can calculate temperature, acceleration of the fin. It can calculate the location it's in, direction, all this kind of cool stuff. And so why do we need this? Well, the majority of oceanic data right now, that scientists use to study climate change patterns, things like that, they come from buoys, which are like miles offshore. There's one on Scripps Pier, which is like about a mile into the water, and there's only a handful of these that actually collect oceanographic data. What we can do is there's a community of thousands and thousands of surfers, and there isn't data near the shore where we're missing all this critical information that we can connect to climate change patterns. It's called the surf zone. And if we're able to produce many fins and give these out to surfers, just imagine how much data we'll be able to collect. Here's some example data that we collected of a session this summer. I won't go too much into detail, but we have temperature over there. You can see it's sort of adjusting to the seawater temperature over time. You have accelerations in the 3 axes. You have gyroscope, which is basically angular velocity over time. And this is the magnetometer. This helps us tell the direction that the surfer is in. So a bit of so the current state of the fin right here, we have a fin that works, but we need to do things with the data so that scientists can use it to study climate change patterns, and make models of their own. So our main focus this quarter will be on wave height analysis. So if you take the accelerometer that's on board the fin, and specifically in the y direction, so up and down right here, and you double integrate it, you should be able to calculate what the height of the wave is as the surfer is laying still. You can calculate wave height. There's models in oceanography that relate wave height to patterns in climate change. So which is why this data is so important for us. So if you're interested in Kalman filters, spectral analysis, DSP, which is digital signal processing, or sensor fusion, things like combining the IMU data together, then I would recommend Smartfin. And we recently got a MathWorks grant, so we're working with MathWorks, MATLAB scientists every month. They're helping us figure some of this stuff out too. So if you're interested in working with them or working on any of this, do contact me. My info is on the following slides. We're also focusing on the manufacturing of these fins. So as you can tell, there's a lot of surfers, but there's only a couple fins that we have on us currently. So we have a preliminary process for manufacturing the fins over at Scripps. But we need to focus on things such as stress testing, where the critical points are, where the fin is attached to the board, where it might break, things such as that. So these are our current efforts, and yeah, if you have any questions. Okay, I put the Smartfin website there. You can check it out later. But
Well, so thank you all the project leads for telling us a little bit about projects. So, how do we get started in this? So kind of the key thing today, you have the opportunity to interact with all of the project leads that are here. And then I'll put Dylan on a laptop over there as well, so you can interact with them. And definitely if you know a project you really want to get involved in, or even if you have interest in it, I would strongly recommend talking to the project leads today and get that one-on-one interaction with them so that if you are really interested in a project and you have the skill set, that's going to shortcut you to getting involved in the project. If you don't really feel comfortable talking to us today, or you still want to learn more about the projects and whatnot, definitely fill out the intake form that's online. My guess is some of you have probably already filled. these applications will close October 10th. And then after that, there's gonna be a little bit of process where we'll schedule time to chat with you. We'll have that chat and then we'll basically decide from there kind of what the best path forward is, whether it's, we'll have you join this particular project or maybe we suggest there's certain things that we want you to learn and develop on before it's really appropriate to put you in the critical path of the project. Right. And again, like as Kurt mentioned earlier, a big part of this is, we're really looking for people who have that drive to learn on their own. So we oftentimes, as we're going through these projects, we're gonna say, we've got this problem, I don't know how to solve it. Now, I have a vague notion of kind of the approach to go at it. And so I want you guys to basically, go take that, go online, read about it, and then go start playing around with it and see what happens. It's research. You're not always going to be successful, but you'll learn something and that'll inform us of how we can move forward from that point. Right. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and have all the project leads head to their various spots and basically, be able to interact with us and ask us questions. I'm gonna leave this up, so you don't have to freak out about trying to take a picture of it right this second. Pretty much all of this is also on our website, which is efree.ucsc.edu. So yeah, just go ahead and talk with us. If you want to talk to myself or Dylan, give me like 2 minutes to get that set up. And then, yeah, we can talk. Yeah, any questions in general before we break for that? Cool. All right, so yeah.
Yeah.
Website.
Let me just go over there. Yeah. Right. All our all that data analysis. Yeah.
Yeah. All of them are very cool and like trying to get more content. Also, like I've been studying college still climate kind of center, so I didn't realize how like conservation of climate centers and that's like really crazy. So what do we want to do? Like, is it possible we can explore multiple or like obviously not at the same time, but like go to maybe I don't want to take time, but I'm still.
Again, let me know so you're a master. So there are opportunities for do civil. They're typically more focused at undergraduates. We typically don't have funding on master's students. So it's certainly something that we can look into. Better to keep that person that is really involved doing academic. So, once you're yeah, we will start talking about it.
Hi. How much of like your time can you just be?
Basically, the more you put in, the more you. There are students that have only put 2 hours a week and thought sufficient enough. But realistically, you want to put in somewhere around. Because that's the amount of time it's going to take to really start making progress. And you don't really, you're not. Right. So part of the fine is that we're not going to shoot something that's really. Because all of the projects doing is there. Every single project, we're looking at some collaborators, so it's critically important that we have they're relying on us to deliver certain technology.
Alright, and if I were to, like, I'm not. So, the thing is, like, I haven't really done anything with machine learning so far. So, like, would that be a problem if I were to join, or?
It's certainly going to be a bigger learning curve, right? Because obviously you're going to learn that stuff. That's it.
Yeah, one more thing is, people like, think their stuff, Guatemala, like, that kind of stuff. Like, if I would join, like, would it be obligated to?
So what I can tell you, the way we choose on the scripts. The person that knows that this is out, you're going. Here's the guy, only guy who knows how to play go. You're going. I mean, conversely, don't know if you knows that out, you don't have such a skill set. Our ability to go out. So basically. So, if we can see, we're talking about, I got it. Versus for the project, actually, in general, we students are. That. In the I project, what we have. Which, what kind of we're trying to do. Students. The scientist doesn't care about. Right, that's. Writing to that. And so we want to test and show that things are going to be, right? We want to show that we're making progress and we're conquering the problems of this. That's not.
I think
And in that sense, I got here. That's something I want you we'll work on it. How do you fix things? That's part of it. I want you to get this. Okay, this overall. Work how the many because actually these are projects. We don't know what project is not just their projects. They don't have to work. Right now, I make it. Just trying to get they were the exact metrics we don't know yet because the science right now. How and so and that's fair. You can put negative metrics on, but then they just I mean, it's a little subjective. Not like eventually once next year we can start to look at exactly what they will do. They're going to look at it and say, oh yeah, this is scientists themselves don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I think so basically, you know, what we're talking about is something yeah, so again, the key thing is we have like
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're.
Software on the system itself, communicating. Communication channels. Streaming all that. Server itself is software there. It's communicating. Okay, well, this one is. How do you like that? Even though it's really wrong, you don't guarantee. Do you want to something here? Yeah. Yeah, so like pretty much everything of our projects system like that, right? It's none of them are truly so this is in here is the guy bring together all the areas. Yeah. It's understanding what yeah, all right, well, we're right now, for example, I'm trying to get so okay, well, what are the tolerances? What we want to say, what all of these we don't decide about this all the time. Okay, so we got this. I know we don't think about this, especially in those. So, yeah, bring all this kind of experience back. Let's just put it together and start something like, well, eventually mix it. So that will be So some of the questions,
in my, yeah, but, I also a little. But not. A little bit in my. But well versed in understanding Python, and I don't think that's like really well. I know how to go far enough. So, yeah, thank you.
What's your experience with Mangrove? Okay, so thank you.
I need to go. I'll let you, this seems to go really well. Awesome.
Now we're just looking at close time. That's very important. Yeah, so what we're doing, well, it turns out yeah, right, and the expectation is that when you're on this way, you don't have to necessarily. It's better just to design. I don't have one of these right now, but
So I would say file line. And then we'll go through that process. So there's. I don't know. Yeah. Any project that I could. I see a lot of fireworks. Yeah. And. Because the machine learning, again, Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's. Very much. So I really want someone who can, we know a little bit about everything and can really dive in and start working out all the problems. Yeah. I want something. Right. Fundamentally, right, we thought better camera. Which has got Wi-Fi. Others than but this all works. And then if I start screwing with this thing, I just put it. So, like, so if I don't. I don't know. I'll go for weekend after this week. And I don't want to get on. Even better, I don't want to be right. This is the running. So you can this, if you're still, just fuel. And so, right, the original thing is it's simple, but it's reliability. I want it to be reliable. Even if there's say, this is so an engineer doesn't need to be right? Well, yeah, it's maybe down a couple hours, but right.
I don't know if it's connected. Oh, it's not. Okay, wait, hold on.
3 months. There's no space. Yeah, sometimes they're small. Yeah, they're really depends on kind of power, how many. Yeah, so there were a couple things that so, right, as mentioned, I have these long bars. So if you do a photo start, then you all of our cables. And so it's like, well, I've decided to go this stuff called the bond. But
I don't think it's magnetic. I don't think it's magnetic.
yeah. It's all on this, but it would normally go here. I had it tethered, my laptop, ready to go to some like, camera call. We actually call it. So, this, I will, I have had, and that's one of the. You know, that's all.
Yeah. I'm sorry, nice to meet you. I don't know why it's supposed to be this big and what else are these? Is that? Yeah, I just think that there only need one camera here and.
But so, this is the fact. We're. I don't know if you see them when. I did not get qualified to dive with them, so someday. Probably your background. Or like this is just one like. I'll look over the app. We'll have time. It's very specific to our user data. I'm not sure if there's another project. Yeah. That oh, right. Okay, you can email it to me. If you're scan whatever. Yeah, I'm definitely look at it. Yeah. I look forward to it. What yeah. I look forward to it. So during the interview, just be able to show that off and deal with the cover. And we're just mainly about not just about that's what you need. So are you guys? Okay.
Girl, I'm fighting here.
Okay.
What is it for you? Wow.
Sam, what did you name it?
It was not.
Wow. Yeah, we should do that. All right.
Yeah, or one day was.
Yeah.
That's all I do.
So recently I've been more, so I am SCF first. I did do a bit of Java through classes, so more recently I haven't been testing on Python, but I definitely can get kind of look through the time to be prepared. It's very affordable. But usually my personal experience, I did. I will make my then I did
I feel like something that I really care about, you know, my phone. Like maybe beginner to intermediate, I definitely will. I think all of the. It should be higher.
What's your experience with multi-threading?
I don't, I'm a big fan. I'm very like, so I am. So yeah, next part. Yes, we called, just, you know, so they recommend a lot, but they like.
Multi-threading is kind of.
What's that?
So the whole point of, right, if you get one. Sort of execution. Logic code.
One thing.
The thread is way over multiple examples. Right, and so we're like, new thread, and over both things, and basically. We don't have to. Right, but there's a lot of things from, right, we have, object that's shared by data. Why did we check? I wasn't actually, I'm checking. Right, because we're, you know, one thread right to another thread reading. So those are things that you have to think about. How do you check from the from you know, some that's what the actions are.
I think, like, the extent of, I have heard of like having hypothesis, I, during I'm currently undergoing like so they do talk about threat hypothesis, and like parallelizing code. I'm definitely looking at it from like a user experience where I like use the command line and I'm not taking too much of the code and I'm trying to kind of like learn the basics. Yeah, but that definitely is related. So I would be able to learn like for like nitty gritty of that.
What's your experience?
I do not have experience yet, but I do know that that is also an asset of like HPC. So actually about the supercomputing, I'm currently, so we've been doing training over the summer and currently preparing for the doing cluster competition in November, and I'm an alternate competition member. So basically we're like we're kind of halfway through the training, so I know that there's definitely more. We do like mentor training and things that will help train but yeah, I definitely need to dig more deep into these classes because software I'm still very beginner, and that's why
What's your experience with Linux?
so I started using Linux through FCC certificating. So I do have Windows, but I use I have it, and yeah, I basically the extent of my Linux knowledge is I know directories, you know, moving files directory, and basically just and I have shell scripts to
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just leave it there. You just want that all those signs.
Okay, yeah.
basically to execute parallelizable code on 6-band, which is a CFC supercomputer. So yeah, I've been learning the basics of Linux and kind of, you know, those basic commands in order to, you know, as a means to execute benchmarks and applications on the supercomputer. So that's something I started learning over the summer. Very recently.
What would you say is the most advanced Linux command?
Sorry?
What would you say is the most advanced Linux command? Like pure Linux command. Core Linux.
Okay, let me dig deep.
How is it?
I'm not sure. I guess from us, okay, cool. I don't know, I feel like I've been learning them kind of all at the same time, so I don't know the complexity of it. I feel like I can definitely read off on my notes, right? That's where I keep it off. Off the top of my head.
Work.
Specifically, sorry, but like I can't. Immediately.
Wow.
Yeah, literally the first time. It's like, I'm really interested in your team.
Standing around.
I know. I feel so good. I know.
We appreciate that. We're really motivated to get into this and.
you guys
One of the key things here is, I'm starting to learn a lot more of these key concepts. So. One thing to get started with is learning a little bit more. Understanding what that is. That's a huge part of what. I guess actually inside. Understanding. How, what happens when you have multiple. You think you can bring people and interact with each other, so that's gonna be a big thing. And I want you to learn to the point where you can task. You don't have to necessarily, things and solve. I want you to have it. Various concepts. And what we'll do is, we'll probably next week, we'll find a time. One day, Jason, you and one of the person to start working on bringing up those two systems and really understanding how things work in the real world. Right. And then from there, we'll move closer towards building up a second system. And then start with being familiar with it, bringing it up, seeing that things are working.
I definitely would benefit from like getting a big picture, high level overview of what everything does, maybe not like, not immediately understanding like, everything about it, but understanding how it works here, that's like how it really works for me and how I need to kind of dive deeper. into what-
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the like next step?
So yeah, I need to go schedule that meetings. So, we'll just keep it out and
Okay, cool. And what's the, you would ask before, I'm forgetting, but what, generally what like, the time commitment for those meetings?
Yeah, so in general, we probably want to look at it as 8 hours. We could do it in bigger chunks, right? That's gonna help you a lot.
Yeah.
And, in terms of actual meetings, I like to keep it around 30 minutes. I really don't want to do a lot.
So
it's not fair to me.
So there's a- so-
And then a lot is just, outside of it, maybe one to talk to. A lot of it's just going to be you kind of working with a lot of explore how that.
Self-learning, like getting up. Yeah, no, I think that's, especially like in the context of research, that's like super important.
Not just in general.
Yeah, academia and even in life, yeah. Awesome, sorry, so much, I'm super helpful.
I am private science. I am the perfect lead